My must-read list for March is packed with amazing books. And I do have some changes coming from my channel that you should know about, so make sure you stick around to the end. I have to be honest, my immediate TBR is getting a little out of control, but I'm going to keep plugging away at it one book at a time. We're also going to talk about how my video on Oklahoma State Bill 593 is going to change things and also not change things for my channel. Instead of giving the whole spiel about the books that I've already talked about on multiple TBRs at this point, I'm just going to give you an update on where I am with them. I am 82% of the way through The Dragon Reborn on Spotify. Unfortunately, I ran out of listening hours last month and this month, so I'm going to have to finish it next month because I refuse to pay for additional listening hours. Next up, we have The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. I'm still reading a chapter a week of this book with one of my Discord groups. At the time of filming this video, we are on chapter 7, but I have some really exciting news. I found out this past week that Jonathan Stroud, the author of Lockwood & Co. and the Bartimaeus trilogy and the Scarlet and Brown series, is coming to my local indie bookstore 3 days after my birthday next month. So happy birthday to me. And yes, I am making all of my friends that are local go with me. I am on page 78 of Uncharitable by Dan Pelota, and I'm supposed to complete chapter 2 by my next book club. This is for my sister's book club. And from where I am in chapter 2 currently, I still have about 50 pages to read of chapter 2 because chapter 2 is a ridiculously long chapter. The next book that I have started is a new book for you, so I am going to give you the summary of this one, and it is The Flight Girls by Noelle Salazar. Inspired by the real team of female pilots who trained World War II soldiers, The Flight Girls is a stunning debut novel about friendship and its power to make us soar. Audrey Coltrane has always wanted to fly. It's why she implored her father to teach her at the little airfield back home in Texas. It's why she signed up to train military pilots in Hawaii when the war in Europe began. And it's why she insists she is not interested in any dream-derailing romantic involvements, even with the disarming Lieutenant James Hart, who fast becomes a friend as dear as the woman she flies with. Then, one fateful day, she gets caught in the air over Pearl Harbor just as the bombs begin to fall, and suddenly nowhere feels safe. Following the attack, Audrey struggles to reconcile her devastating losses, colleagues, friends, and the piece of her heart she left in the air. She seizes the opportunity to join the Woman Air Force Service pilots, hoping to make everything she's lost count for something. The fast friendships she forms with her fellow WASP women reignites a spark of hope in the face of a war that moves closer to home every day. When James goes missing in action, those bonds help her summon the courage to cross the front lines and give her the faith that they will return stateside together. So this is my work book club book, and I'm about 25% of the way through the audiobook so far. And I am really enjoying it, but I'm gonna be honest, reading anything right now around World War II is honestly really difficult for me right now. And of course, we have 30 Nights with the Billionaire by J.M. Snap. I am about 3/4 of the way through this book, and I've honestly been kind of struggling to finish it, and I'll talk about the reasons behind that when I do finish the book. And here are the books from previous TBRs that I've talked about that I haven't even started yet, but are still on my immediate TBR. My Happy Marriage, Volume 4 by Akumi Agitogi. I think that this will be my next physical read once I finish 30 Nights with the Billionaire, just so I can knock something out and feel like I'm making progress on my physical TBR. And you'll see why I've been thinking that way if you watch my wrap-up next week. Then we have Competitions by Sharon Green. Yep, I still haven't started this one, but I will, I promise. I'm just really wishing that this series had an audiobook. And the last book that I've told you guys about that I was going to read that I haven't even started yet is Sea of Rust by C. Robert Cargill. This will be on my list immediately after finishing My Happy Marriage Volume 4, because my online book club is already kind of champing at the bit to meet and talk about it, and I haven't even started it yet. All right, now we're getting into all new books for you. So let's start with the books that I'm reading for the different book clubs that I'm in. First up is Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Caw. So this is technically my roommate's book club pick for February, but I haven't read it yet. But that's okay because we're not even meeting until the end of next month. A Heian-era mansion stands abandoned, its foundation resting on the bones of a bride and its walls packed with the remains of the girls sacrificed to keep her company. It's the perfect wedding venue for a group of thrill-seeking friends. But a night of food, drinks, and games quickly spirals into a nightmare, for lurking in the shadows is the ghost bride with a black smile and a hungry heart. And she gets lonely down there in the dirt. So I'm really excited to be reading this horror novella. The premise really speaks to my art history, historian, anthropology nerd. Next up is Deep as the Sky, Red as the Sea by Rita Chang Epic. When Shek-Young sees a Portuguese sailor slay her husband, a feared pirate, she knows she must act swiftly or die. Instead of mourning, Shek-Young launches a new plan, immediately marrying her husband's second-in-command and agreeing to bear him a son and heir in order to retain power over her half of the fleet. But as Shek-Young vies for control over the army she knows she was born to lead, larger threats loom. The Chinese emperor has charged a brutal, crafty nobleman with ridding the South China Sea of pirates, and the Europeans, tired of losing ships, men, and money to Shek-Young's alliance, have new plans for the area. Even worse, Shek-Young's cutthroat retributions create problems all their own. As Shek-Young navigates new motherhood and the crises of leadership, she must decide how long she is willing to fight and at what price, or risk losing her fleet, her new family, and even her life. Pirates, marriages of convenience, and a badass female bucking against the system. What's not to like about this one? This may have also been my book pick for my sister's book club. This Girl's a Killer by Emma C. Wells. Ask Cordelia Black why she did it. The answer will always be, he had it coming. Cordelia Black loves three things: her chosen family, her hairdresser, worth every penny plus tip, and killing bad men. By day, she's an ambitious farmer rep with a flawless reputation in designer wardrobe. By night, she culls South Louisiana of unscrupulous men, monsters who think they've evaded justice, until they meet her. Sure, the evening news may have started throwing around phrases like serial killer, but Cordelia knows that's absurd. She's not a killer, she is simply karma, and being karma requires complete and utter control. But when Cordelia discovers a flaw in her perfectly designed system for eliminating monsters, pressure heightens. And it only intensifies when her best friend starts dating a man Cordelia isn't sure is a good person, someone who might just unravel everything she has worked for. Soon enough, Cordelia has to come face to face with the choices she's made, the good, the bad, and the murderous. Both her family and her freedom depend on it. And so far, the first three books on my book club list all center around feminine rage, and I honestly can't say that I'm upset about it. So normally my roommate's book club picks two books and then we meet every other month. However, we had a tie for our second book, so we actually have the choice of which book in March that we want to read. I'm gonna try and read both books because I've had this book that I'm about to talk about on my TBR for a while, but this is the book of the three that I was least excited about, so if I don't get to it, I'm gonna be okay with that. And that book is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. Chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality, except for one, Calvin Evans, the lonely, brilliant, Nobel Prize-nominated grudge holder who falls in love with, of all things, her mind. True chemistry results. But like science, life is unpredictable, which is why a few years later, Elizabeth Zott finds herself not only a single mother, but the reluctant star of America's most beloved cooking show, Supper at 6. Elizabeth's unusual approach to cooking, combined 1 tablespoon acetic acid with a pinch of sodium chloride, proves revolutionary. But as her following grows, not everyone is happy. Because as it turns out, Elizabeth Zott isn't just teaching women to cook, she's daring them to change the status quo. Like I said, I've had this on my TBR for ages now, and I'd like to get to it, but I'm not going to be heartbroken if I don't. I do really want to watch the adaptation though. So, my reading journal from Owl Crate has a built in reading challenge in it for each month. Similar to the Magical Readathon, you can choose one of 3 paths to follow each month, and your goal is to read the monthly prompt. So, I'm choosing to follow the book path, but there's also like a beaker path and like a cloud path. A lot of the prompts do tend to be pretty fantasy related, but the book prompts tend to be what I gravitate towards, so I just decided to follow that path. I have not yet finished February's prompt, which was to read a book set in a magical forest or land. I didn't really want to spend money to do this readathon, so my challenge is to finish this readathon without having to buy something. So after browsing my already owned Audible catalog of books that I haven't read yet, I settled on Beyond the Four Kingdoms Box Set 2 by Melanie Cellier. Again, I really hope that's how you say her last name. If it's not, I apologize. Book 4. A Dream of Ebony and White, a retelling of Snow White. Snow has always lived under the shadow of her cruel stepmother, with only her beloved father and her childhood friend, the huntsman, Alexander, to make life bearable. When her father dies, she should be crowned queen, but instead she finds herself fleeing for her life. With no allies, no skills, and no food, her future could be over before it has truly begun. But there's more at stake than just one life. If Snow can't claim her throne, her kingdom faces destruction. Snow has to make a choice. Focus on her own salvation or put everything on the line, even those she loves the most. And if she's going to succeed, Snow must fight the hardest battle of all, against her own doubt and weakness, and gain new skills and strength she never imagined possessing. Alexander is ready to help her, but if she lets him, the consequences might be more than she can bear, because her heart is in as much jeopardy as the kingdom. Book 5, A Captive of Wing and Feather, a retelling of Swan Lake. Princess Adelaide has been missing for years, and that's exactly the way she wants it. Haunted by her past, not even the curse that entraps her is enough to make her long for her old home. But her past finds her anyway, in the form of a handsome prince from her childhood. Adelaide doesn't want to let Gabe in, but a sinister force is spreading fear throughout her new kingdom, and only Gabe has the will to help her. Adelaide can't refuse his assistance, not when the evil might soon ensnare much more than a solitary princess. But with her friends and her new kingdom in danger, even the help of Gabe and her 7 swans might not be enough. Book 6, A Princess of Wind and Wave, a retelling of The Little Mermaid. Isla may be a mermaid princess, but she's never felt at home in her undersea kingdom. Instead, she dreams of the day her people can return to the surface, and the boy whose life she once saved. But while Isla foresees danger for her people beneath the ocean, she has no concept of the dark forces working to keep her people submerged. When an impetus vow sets her on the course of the truth, Isla discovers that shadowy foes beset the kingdoms of both land and sea, and when she finally finds herself on shore, Isla realizes the fight will require not only her sword but her mind and heart as well, at least if she ever hopes to overcome her enemies and win the love of the prince of her dreams. I read the first box set in this series, I think earlier this year, and really enjoyed these fairy tale retellings. So I am looking forward to continuing this series since it was already in my catalog. The Owl Crate Readathon prompt for March, and don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the Magical Readathon. I just need to catch up on my physical TBR before I really dive into that a little bit more. But anyway, my Owl Crate Readathon prompt for March is to read a book that uncovers a hidden society or kingdom. Again, I searched through my list of unread books in my Audible catalog and found The Librarian of Crooked Lane by C.J. Archer. Librarian Sylvia Ash knows nothing about her past, having grown up without a father and a mother who refused to discuss him. When she stumbles upon a diary that suggests she's descended from magicians, she's skeptical. After all, magicians are special, and she's just an ordinary girl who loves books. She seeks the truth from a member of the most prominent family of magicians, but she quickly learns that finding the truth won't be easy, especially when he turns out to be as artless as her, and more compelling and dangerous than books. War hero Gabe is gifted with wealth, a loving family, and an incredible amount of luck that saw him survive 4 harrowing years of a brutal war without injury. But not all injuries are visible. Burying himself in his work as a consultant for Scotland Yard, Gabe is going through the motions as he investigates the theft of a magician-made painting, but his life changes when he unwittingly gets Sylvia dismissed from her job and places her in danger. After securing her new employment in a library housing the world's greatest collection of books about magic, Gabe and Sylvia's lives become entwined as they work together to find both the painting and the truth about Sylvia's past before powerful people can stop them. But sometimes the past is better left buried. Secret Library Society of Magicians? Color me intrigued. To be fair, the magicians don't actually seem like a secret, but at least their mysteries are unknown to our main characters, so I say it counts for this prompt. Is there a book that you are excited to read this month? Let me know in the comments down below. If you just want to let me know that you're new here, leave me a flex emoji. So my last video about Oklahoma State Bill 593 kind of blew up. As of right now, it has just under 5,000 views, and it gained me about 100 subscribers. That number of views is about 5 times more than what my best video has gotten up to this point. And 100 subscribers was actually my goal for new subscribers for 2025 based on, previous year's growth. So if you found my channel because of that video, just know that I'm very, very grateful that you found me. But this video also completely flipped my kind of viewer demographics. My typical audience that I write my videos for is girls ages 18 and up who are nerdy and like to read and like movies and television. And that's because that's what I like to do. That being said, if you do not fit that target audience, please know that you are still very welcome here. And if you're excited about a book that you want to read, I want to talk to you about it. But the comments on the Oklahoma video were wild, which I was honestly expecting in the polarized society that we're living in today and the fact that it was of political nature. I did end up having to turn off the comments for that video. I'm sorry if you hear weird noises. My cat's playing with a cardboard box in the background. I did end up having to turn off the comments of that video because I just couldn't keep up with the responses, and it was driving me crazy that YouTube doesn't have an option to clear the unresponded comments notifications without either deleting the comment or turning comments off completely. YouTube, you should really work on that. That kind of video is not my normal content, nor do I intend it to be in the future. I like to talk about reading, writing, and book adaptations. And that's what I want to continue doing. That's what I enjoy. And that's why I framed the video from a reader's perspective instead of talking about the full ramifications that are affecting things like TV, movies, and video games. That being said, I do hear that there is a need for people to be talking about these issues because it's important to know about censorship bills that are trying to be passed in our local and federal government. While I don't think I'll be doing many dedicated videos on that topic moving forward, I do plan on adding a segment at the end of my videos that I'm going to call Freedom in honor of the freedom fighters, Texas librarians. I'll put their link down below if you want to go show them some love. And in that section, I'll talk about the implications of different censorship bills like Oklahoma SB 593. I'll start that segment next week, so if you're interested in those, make sure you subscribe. Let's see what stories tomorrow brings.